A lot of the times in life, it feels like our efforts are going unrewarded. Like we're doing all these things to improve, but we're not seeing any progress. And it always reminds me of sowing and reaping, of what farmers do. And that is, when you go and plant the seed, you don't just go pull it back up 2 weeks later to see if it's made any progress. And so if we're expecting a huge big tree, we're going to be disappointed at all the stages of its evolution. In my life, for instance, dealing with strong attachments or addictions or things that create suffering, you tend to struggle with them for so long, for so many years, and no matter what you do, it seems like you just can't escape. You just can't break free. And it makes you wonder, is there any end to all of this madness? Maybe there is, maybe there's not. But an interesting thing has happened to me lately, where a lot of these attachments have just been falling away, that I've become much more indifferent to a lot of the things that used to keep me a slave. Things that I would really want or really desire. It's like there's nothing there. Now, I'm not saying that I can't also be pulled back into desire, but it's almost like overnight things just continue to drop away more and more. The first example was that for a long time I was drinking these big mason jars full of coffee every day. It was about 18 cups. And I really like coffee. And one day I ran out of cream, unfortunately. And so I drank the coffee and it wasn't as nice, it wasn't as pleasant, but it was okay. It was fine. Then a few days later, I ran out of coffee. I'm like, oh well, maybe I'll have some tea. Just 1 cup, just like that big. And just 1 tea bag. And almost immediately I noticed that this is just creating tension in me that's uncomfortable. This does absolutely nothing for me. Why am I doing this? And in the realization of that futility, that whatever I was trying to get from it, it was not giving me. And that all it was giving me was just suffering, was just an uncomfortable feeling. In that vivid awareness, that attachment to caffeine evaporated, to where there is no desire. The reason I bring this up is because my practice that I've been doing for a while is meditation. And in meditation, it often feels like nothing is happening, like you're not going anywhere, like there's no progress being made, But what I have come to find is that the more you meditate, the more you experience reality on greater and more subtle levels. Your sensitivity is increased. So before I was drinking all this coffee, it was just a blur. That suffering wasn't clear. If anything, there was a slight joy attached to it. But with more and more clarity, I began to sense that uncomfortable tension that the caffeine created. My natural state was more positive. It was a higher state of being, and I could feel the difference, that substance lowering my frequency or lowering my state of being. The same thing has happened with other desires, other things that I've really, really wanted. And then suddenly it's like, oh, well, I don't really care anymore. Because when you dive deeper into the inner satisfaction of your own being, what is there to want? You have all there is. But a lot of us on the spiritual journey spend a lot of time in this kind of in-between state where we want to dive deeper within into the spiritual practices, but then we also want to go and desire the things out into the world. And in a way, that can slow down our progress because we're not making a choice to go one way or the other. I remember a dream a while back, maybe 4 or 5, 6 months ago. It said, see where this path ends up. Take this to its conclusion. And what it was talking about was the path of Advaita Vedanta, of self-realization. And that was a very important message in general for all things. And that is, a lot of the times the reason we don't feel like we're making progress is because we haven't committed. You can't make any progress in dabbling. The person who plants the seed has to be patient enough, many years for it to grow into its full whatever it may be. And it isn't even until the final stages does fruit begin to appear. Pear. I have pears on my mind. So think about it. All that work, all that struggle, no results, nothing. And not until the very end do all the fruits appear. And in this age of instant gratification, this can be very difficult because we just don't have the patience. We want the results now. But that is the mind resisting what is. And so long as we resist what is, we slow down our progress, whatever it is you might be doing. Specifically on the spiritual path, really the main purpose is to allow the light within you to shine forth freely. And so all mental resistance, all mental tension is cutting off that light. It's like a hose with water coming out and you're tightening the nozzle, but you kind of want water to flow, so you kind of loosen it up, but you're also tightening it. And so you're kind of in this halfway thing where not that much water is coming out. So you don't experience the full benefits. For instance, at least when you're unconscious, you can go out into the world and indulge in all these different things, and it'll kind of be okay until you really push that to its end. But the moment you realize the futility of trying to find lasting satisfaction in a temporary world, nothing is really going to bring you that happiness that you thought. And you know it. Engaging in that impulsive pleasure, and you know it's not going to do anything for you, and so you don't even get to enjoy that. Because your awareness, your clarity has ruined the illusion for you. And at the same time, you have not gone deep enough to experience the spiritual benefits, the spiritual riches. And so you're caught in this kind of purgatory, where you can't really enjoy the outer world, but there's still a lot of resistance and tension, and that is cutting you off from the inner peace and the inner joy. You really just have to pick a path. Are you going in or are you going out? Are you going to go out and try and achieve all the worldly benefits, all the worldly things, and see if that works for you? Or are you going to go within and try and find all the heavenly benefits? But going halfway, half in and half out, is only going to make you miserable. I think it's important to recognize some progress throughout our journey, because we don't have to wait until the tree is fully grown to see the evolutions. And so it's best to really become present and make note of when things begin to change. For instance, with meditation, for me, a long time ago, many months, every once in a while I would begin to wake up in the middle of the night with extreme joy, extreme happiness. Because in a state of no mind, that is when you have direct connection to consciousness, to God. And so therefore you experience the bliss that is consciousness, that love. Just a few days ago, I had another interesting experience where it was kind of in that wake-sleep state where I was awake, but there was really no mind that had kicked on. And what I had felt was this deep sense of eternity, foreverness. And it's hard to explain, because it wasn't exactly that same joy, the same bliss of consciousness, but it was very powerful, very big. The only thing I remember was, in that experience, the word that came to mind was eternity. And so another point of progress on the meditation journey, or even the spiritual journey. So too, recently in the past few days, I think it might have been yesterday, I had a dream where Osho had come in the dream, and he was in this big truck, and when I went to go talk to him, there was Papaji and some other spiritual people that I didn't know. But it was Osho that I was talking to, who was a spiritual teacher, spiritual master. And he gave me some advice, which was very interesting and very cool. And basically what he said was, don't be attached to the joy of the moment. That oftentimes we go into this spiritual journey running away from suffering and seeking joy and seeking freedom. But he said, not even the joy do you need to be attached to. And I'm at the point now where I actually understand what that means. Whereas before I might have been a bit defensive because you really want to be happy, you want the joy. But at least recently I found that more and more of all the desires seem to be falling away. And it's hard to tell if it's a good thing or a bad thing, but it's just a very powerful non-attachment and indifference, not caring, that you just don't really want anything. Another big one for me lately has been food, where before I would be eager to eat, to go to the gym, and then be excited about being able to eat and relax. But now it seems like I don't really care. In fact, I'd prefer to not have to eat in a way. It's just not that big of a deal as it once was. Now I imagine that this kind of state will fluctuate, where perhaps this is a temporary state of being. But I don't know. It has yet to be seen. We will see. I don't want to make a claim that, oh, this is who I am now, because who knows? It just seems that recently a lot of the attachments have been falling away because of the meditation practice, diving deeper and deeper into more and more subtle levels of experiencing reality, where you taste the food, but it doesn't really do anything. If anything, it makes you feel slow or dull or heavy. Maybe it's just my diet. Another big one lately was music. And that is, I would go to the gym and listen to music, and then the past few nights I've been having these stupid songs stuck in my head before I go to sleep. And something as simple as that, even though it is annoying, it is so unfavorable that I'm not even interested in listening to music going to the gym. If anything, I'll listen to things that don't have lyrics. Another good one is social media. When you go and you look at all these different things, all of these images, all of these memories get stored in your mind. And so for me with the music and just all these different things, I don't want these things in my mind. I would prefer everything to just be empty, to be at peace. And the more and more you get in touch with that peace, the more the world becomes less attractive. Because nothing can bring you that peace. Nothing can bring you that joy that is already within you. And you are able to see more and more how futile our actions are trying to get things that bring us happiness. And I'd like to point out that I spent so many years addicted to social media, for instance, or using music as an inspiration to go to the gym, or drinking coffee every morning, or using food as a motivation. Things we deal with for so long and that are such an ingrained part of our lives can simply just fall away in an instant. So the point I want to make is that a lot of the times, all the progress comes to bear fruit at once. That there is a long period of no fruits. But if you just keep going, eventually you will find what you are looking for.